In this show, we're going to explore the paradox of the feminine mystique and the vanishing traditional woman. This show is a compilation of a prior show that was more or less completed by myself and a panel of guests. All right. Brother Blair Nash, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Kimberly Kimberly with her butterfly works. How you doing, young lady?
Hi, how are you?
Listen, guys, there's a crisis in modern America. Relationships are faltering, and the vibrancy that we had in the past appears to be dissipating. I want you guys to intersect what you guys take now versus on the past, and what protective measures should we take to understand the paradox of the feminine mystique. So, Blair, I want you to introduce yourself, and then Kimberly, I want you to come in and segue what Mr. Nash is more or less pontificating.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it, Mr. Smalls. Again, my name is Blair Nash, author, dating coach, and also matchmaker as of recently. I've been doing this in my kind of venue for about 8 years now, close to 8 years. And I actually got started kind of wanting to assist women in understanding kind of how men think, not the, and I'm just going to put the name out there, not the Steve Harvey version.
No doubt.
That we kind of like to put out there. But really what, as you and I have had several conversations, Seven, kind of what men talk about when women aren't around, because there's a whole different tier of dialogue that's happening with that. So I wanted to kind of expose women to that and help them understand really what men are saying. So that's one of the reasons I got started. I have several books out, and we'll get to that here shortly. But again, thank you for having me on. One of the things that I notice about kind of where we are in our culture is that there seems to be kind of, and we use this word a lot, there seems to be kind of a lack of shame from women in what happens with what they do, a lot of their behaviors. It used to be, if you can remember, for those of us who are a little senior than others, it used to be a situation where, like, if a woman got pregnant and she became a child, she moved away. She moved to the South, or she went somewhere to kind of, have help from her family to raise that child and everything. And I don't know if that was necessarily the exact way we should do it, but at least there was a level of, I realize I've done wrong. I realize I brought shame to my family. And there was kind of a level of it. I won't say atonement, but there was a level of, this is not the right way to do things.
Right
now, it seems as though anything is kind of like almost the wild, wild west, where anything goes. You can, as a woman, you can say whatever, do whatever, speak whatever, dress however you want to. You have all these different things that you can do. And it seems as though any sort of kind of, course correction or pushback that men have, where they say, hey, sister, that's not really the right way to do things. These are how things should be done. It's get out my business, leave me alone. I'm a free woman. I'm this, I'm that. And it seems like we've kind of moved it seems like the needle has kind of moved away from women having a lot of dignity, women having a lot of class, to, I want to be accepted, even if I cuss, even if I have, 45 tattoos on my body, even if I have, this amount of children,
Your appear to frozen, Blair. Can you hear us? Okay, Gene, how you doing, sir?
That's what I know.
Okay, I'm doing great. Go ahead, Blair. Are you back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you froze for a moment. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so that's what I noticed. I just noticed that there seems to be kind of a moving away from morals and ethics in our culture, to put it very plainly.
Kimberly, you're a woman, a very kind and beautiful woman at that. What happened to the feminine mystique of yesterday compared to now? And the feminine mystique of yesterday had a level of demure and kindness that you don't see now in modern culture. I want you to give your own take to what Blair said. And do you think we'll ever get back to that time when women were feminine and also respectful?
Yes. First off, thank you again for having me on the show. I do really and truly appreciate it. Nice meeting you, Gene. Nice meeting you, Blair. Actually, it's to answer your question, Seventh, it's a conglomerate of things. I think that culturally, we've gotten away from just basic respect for one another. We've gotten into more of a competition between the male and the females, a battle of the sexes. It's become very skewed. People don't understand that we each have roles. There's always this need to win between the both. And everyone really doesn't understand that everyone is important, right? And everyone has a voice. Voices have been suppressed. And then economics. Economics has a lot to do with it. Women have to go out into the workplace now because it's so expensive. And a lot of women have developed this boss bitch, excuse my language, boss bitch attitude, which has been very, very detrimental in my estimation to the community. So, and then women feel they've been bamboozled and feel that they could treat Black men like the rest of the society has. I don't play into that. So it's just a conglomerate of things. We go on for days.
Well, it appears that this conglomerate, once again, has a very paradoxical side. On one end, men crave the beauty of a feminine woman. But on the negative end, you have the three female archetypes, the Jezebel, you have the Delilah, and you also have the Proverbs 31 woman, something that you don't see in modern culture. From my own anecdotal experience, I don't think we'll ever get back to those times again. I just don't see it. The current climate is too cantankerous. And I think if women have not seen a masculine father or masculine authority, they can more or less embrace what it is to be a masculine man and how men more or less operate and think. Blair, you wrote 3 books. Love is a Beautiful Thing, Till It Ain't, Black Money, Sex, and Relationships, and Illuminating the Battlefields. Mm-hmm. I want you to talk about your 3 books, but how one of these books more or less parrots to the topic of the show.
Absolutely. And just a little, kind of a shameless plug, I also have my 4th book coming out. It'll be out sometime later on this year. It's called Throwing the Rose-Colored Glasses Out the Window. Mm-hmm. And, if you don't mind, I'll kind of actually speak to that, because this book is strictly and it has a singular goal to speak to Black women. Most of my books are pretty much kind of, to both sexes. So I speak to men and women. But this particular book I wrote specifically for women because, as I mentioned, I'm a dating coach, I'm a matchmaker. And one of the things that I see that's happening with us is that, let's just say, especially with our women, is there seems to be a lot of not being able to understand the basic things of how, number one, how to date, and number 2, really what men like and what men appreciate. And so what's happened for so long is I think women have kind of used the idea, well, I can cook, I got 4 different dishes I can make real good, and I give good sex. So and I'm cute. So therefore I'm a high value type of woman. And so what men have been saying over, as you see from this growing kind of cascade of, men that have been speaking back, is they're like, no, there's a whole, that's just the beginning. There's a whole lot of other things that we're looking for. And so the book that I'm not writing, that I've already written, just waiting for it to come out, speaks to just kind of how to help women to understand, if you don't understand certain concepts about dating, if you don't understand certain concepts about men, it may be imperative that you really go all the way back to the very beginning. And I kind of referenced it, you and I had a conversation. I referenced it and said that it's almost like playing basketball. For anybody who, I don't know if we had, I don't know if you were Hooper 7th, but, I played basketball.
I did. Right.
Yeah, right. So, and I'll ask both of you, Kimberly, you might have played basketball. I don't want to leave the ladies out and say that, women don't play basketball at all. But if for the people who do play basketball, if you know how to, shoot threes, right? You don't shoot threes on your first day, right? In basketball.
He froze for a second.
I think he froze. I think Blair froze. Gene, I want you to highlight what Blair is saying briefly.
What's up, man? So, basically, everything you guys have said is on point, but I'm going to go from the opposite side. So he's back. You want to finish, Blair, and then I'll jump in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blair.
Oh, yeah. And let me just say to your listeners, I apologize. I'm actually at a hotel, so I'm using their Wi-Fi. So if it goes in and out, I'm in one of their conference rooms. So I'm sorry, not a lot I could do about it.
Okay.
But as I was just saying, in basketball, very first day that you go to basketball, if you go like a camp or, if you kind of, get with a coach, you're not going to be shooting threes and doing whatever very first day. Very first day, I'm going to teach you how to hold the ball. Simply how to hold the ball. Next day, it's okay. We're going to sit here and stand in place, and we're going to dribble the ball. We're not going to walk. We're not going to do any shots. We're just going to sit here and dribble the ball. I need you to learn how to dribble the ball. Next day, okay, take the ball, dribble from one hand to the other, right? And so I make the parable a lot of times that a lot of our women don't simply understand how to do basic fundamentals of dating. And they don't understand really they don't understand how to retain men, not meet men, but they don't understand how to retain men. They don't understand how to, the certain things that you should and should not do in relationships. And so what that does is it shoots them in the foot each and every time. Because once, as I say all the time, once the new car smell goes away from most men in dealing with a woman, once he's like, yeah, she's cute, but there's a whole bunch of cute chicks around here. Mm-hmm. Once that new car smell moves out of there, then you have to have something that's going to keep his attention. And so what happens is with women, a lot of times, especially our women, is they have used I'm cute, I make good meals, he's not going nowhere. And so what men do, we'll tell you like that's there's a lot of women out there that do that. So one of the things that I want to teach women is how do you get to keep a man past that 2 to 3 month window when he starts kind of looking at you like, she's cute, her eyes is beautiful, and her smile is banging, but I saw a girl I met last week, she'll blow her out the water, right? And this is how men think. So how do you as a woman how do you as a woman retain that guy and keep his interest in you and you alone? And so what that does, which goes into the whole crux of the show, is there has to be a set of values and a certain type of tradition and belief in Black family that's going to make that man want to say, okay, she's different than just her average sister out here. So that's what I think we're going to have to get back to. What that means is, going back to my sports reference, you're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning steps. If you don't know how to date, if you don't know how to retain a guy and keep his interest in you, you got to go all the way back to learning how to dribble a ball in place. And for a lot of our women, they don't want to do that because they're like, no, I've been, with this body and this look, I've been getting dudes for a long time, right? And so it's hard for them to understand and comprehend. Yeah, but look, you're 37 and you're still not learning some basic fundamentals. So this is what I try to help women understand. I don't want to chew up all your time. So no,
you're fine. You're fine. Everything you're giving is I think is very awe-inspiring. It's funny because it's ironic that you said these things, and I keep conveying to women is that I think America forgot to ask men what they wanted. A lot of our women just assume they can give a man whatever and think that's good enough. But men have standards too. Men have a certain type of women that they like. There are certain things that certain high value men are not going to tolerate. And the Proverbs 31 woman was like the Fannie Lou Hamers and Big Mama and your Aunt Shirley. That's a cliche name. But those women are long gone. And what men are looking for is cooperation, feminine women that can understand them and respect them. We're not looking for a woman to be a Stepford wife, but we want women to be feminine and beautiful and more or less understand the essence of a man. And you said something, Blair, that's very important. The strong and independent trope is going to destroy a lot of women. I'm going to do a show on that at some point. And that strong and independent trope more or less is a psychopathology in my mind, what I call a thinking error, because woman was not made to be by herself. She was made to coalesce with a man and to bring forth harmony in the universe. But however, I call it a deficit mindset. So many women want to wear the band of being strong and independent, but they don't want to more or less come in harmony with a masculine man and get love and protection. Because a feminine woman, oh my God, is so intoxicating. But a lot of women don't understand the importance of a very true and a genuine, not a fake feminine woman, but a genuine feminine woman. And we're going to talk about the Delilah once again in this second expose. in my opinion, is the fake femininity movement, because Delilah, her main purpose was to understand and to get the secrets of Samson, but she never really had the heart for Samson. Her heart was his money. So Jay, I want you to talk about this. I want you to come in and parrot some of the things that Blair said, and also some of the things that Mrs. Kimberly have more or less pontificated as well.
Okay. This whole topic, for the most part, we speak about it from one side of the fence. And what I mean by that is that we always talk about the impact of the fatherless home on the woman, and that a lot of women are not comfortable with masculine men because they weren't around them. But the other side to that is the fact that a lot of guys also weren't raised around masculine men. So you have a 78% out of wedlock birth rate in the Black community, right? And it's been in the 70s for decades at this point. So what that basically means is that like 1 in every 4 Black men is growing up with his father in the home. Mm-hmm. So masculine men who have learned to be men by their fathers are in the minority. What that means is that, and then you have these women raising their sons, and a lot of women, I grew up in neighborhoods that were predominantly single mother homes. A lot of these women try to turn their sons into the simps that they wish their men were. They teach their sons to be simps. They teach their sons that, you basically cater to everything a woman wants. And like you're like a eunuch. You're there to serve her needs, and her happiness is paramount. So I said all that to say that a big part of the problem is, we have these women with their attitudes and their ridiculous mindsets, but we have 3/4 of the men, these simps and manginas, who back up the nonsense that comes out of their mouth. They're a huge problem. I mean, if you try to correct a woman in the comment section, you're going to have 6 to 8 simps in there, co-signing what she's saying. And I mean, and the ridiculous thing about it is that they never want the simp. Like, the simp gets no play. They'll be arguing with me or Blair or you, and then they're in our inbox, not the simp's inbox. Like, no woman is turned on by a simp. He is just there to boost her ego so that she feels good about herself when she is approached or approaches a man that she's actually interested in. That's the purpose of this. That's the purpose the simp serves. He is not going to get anywhere near those panties. It's not going to happen. So it's like, we really need to address these simps and put them in their place, because all they do is undermine anything that you try to build. Right. Making me laugh. Anything you try to build with women, simps will undermine it.
Right. And I want to ask you a question, Blair. Is Russell Wilson going to be saying that love is a beautiful thing until it ain't in the next 45 years? Because there's been a firestorm in the media talking about Russell Wilson. I don't want to denigrate the brother. He's from North Carolina. He played at NC State. But when men say, certain types I don't like, I won't want that for my wife. Women get in a firestorm. I had one, literally cussed me out. I had to release the inner line. But do you think that brother's going to be in the media in the next 5 years reading your book, Love is a Beautiful Thing Until It's Not? I want you to more or less pontificate on that, Mr. Nash.
Yeah, it's, the whole Russell Wilson debate is, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, because, it is what it is. I mean, we've been talking about it since pretty much since the inception of their marriage. I think what has to happen is there's going to have to be, and I don't know if it's going to be something that's really going to be understood, but I think there's going to have to be kind of a understanding that it has nothing to do with any sort of jealousy, envy, or anything of Russell Wilson. That has zero to do with it. What it has to do with, and you got to hold your seats for this one. What it basically has to do with is that most men see Sierra as someone that is below Russell. And let me explain. And so what happens is, and like I said, for ladies, you might want to, close your ears and everything. So they see Sierra as below Russell Wilson's station. For Sierra, She is an attractive woman. I don't think there's any men out here that's going to say that Sierra is not a good looking woman. She's fine, very fine, right?
Right.
But when you start to kind of look at, okay, let's look at the resume. Let's look at, the kind of people that you've dated. Let's look and see, what's your mindset like? Do you have, the things that men look at for long term, the kind of men that you've dated, what's your mindset? Do you have children, et cetera, et cetera? When you start to look at it like that, you start to say, okay, well, wait a minute. This is a woman who has dated, messy guy after messy guy after messy guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I was having a conversation with a young lady recently, and she was like, well, that's the industry she's in. That's, I said, no, sweetie, there's a lot more regular Russell Wilson type guys out there than there are the 50 Cents and the Futures and all those other guys. There's a ton more of those. There's a ton more Russell Wilsons than there are 50 Cent type guys. But for some reason, our women gravitate towards the 50 Cents and the Russell Wilsons of the dating arena. And so what happens is, after our women have dated those guys for so long, they say, okay, let me go and get a different kind of guy, right? And this is what they said. We tell women all the time, we should choose better. And I'm going to call men out on this, because there is a level of hypocrisy in it, because we tell women choose better, but then when women choose better, we tell men, dude, she ain't really that kind of woman that you want to get with, right? So there's a level of hypocrisy that's going on there. And I have to call us out on that. But the end result is that when you look at the entire resume of who Sierra is, she does have a child. Not only does she have a child, she has a child out of wedlock, and she has a child by a guy who is probably one of the worst guys that you can think of as far as a character, right? So then you skip to, well, what's it, maybe that was just one mulligan or whatever. No. She has a history of dating raggedy guy after raggedy guy after raggedy guy. And so what it looks like, what it appears to be, is that Russell Wilson was kind of ushered in after she got done with dealing, after she got done dating all of those different men. And then it was like, okay, well, now it's time to kind of get right and, get a good man and, get a guy for my son, et cetera, as they call it now, the cleanup man, right? And right. So for a lot of men, they look at that and say, well, what sort of message does that send to our younger generation of ladies? If they think to themselves, I can mess around, I can screw around, do whatever, have a child, and then I can get me a Russell Wilson type guy, it sends a horrible message to young ladies who are impressionable, that because they can look at Sierra and say, see, she did just fine. Look at who she got, right? And so this is where you see the vitriol from a lot of Black men, where they say to themselves, why would you, with all the women out here who are attractive, who have great mindsets, who, do not have children, et cetera, why wouldn't you go to the top of the mountain to get one of those type of women rather than someone who has messed around with dirty guy after dirty guy? So that's where the anger comes from. We can sit and say, to each his own, live and let live, and all the other colloquialisms that we say. But at the end of the day, if you are trying to build a legacy and build a foundation and build an infrastructure with a certain type of and a certain breed of woman, why would you then allow someone to hitch their wagon to you that has all this, all this stuff that's happened to them in the past? And not only that, has a lot of behaviors and mindsets that she still carries into the marriage to this day. So that's what I think is going on.
No doubt. Kimberly, I want to ask you a question as a young lady. What happened to femininity of the past? And do you think we'll ever go back to that time in life where women were feminine and had a level of demure that was more or less accommodating to a man?
I think what happened was that our grandmothers were absent. I know that my great grandmother and my grandmother were very instrumental in me growing up. It just got lost in the shuffle. And I think, I've read and, based on my own experiences, generationally, you had the baby boomers, and you had all of this stuff going on in the world. You had Vietnam, and then you had this mass incarceration. It's just, I look at our community as quite unique, right? We can't compare ourselves to other groups in this country, especially, but for us, we lost our grandmothers, we lost our fathers, daddy government started coming in and bamboozled us. We didn't really have anyone that we could latch onto as far as a leader because there was just infighting. And then we started allowing our young ladies to stop wearing slips and stockings, and they just became more and more free. And a lot of women in my generation, they maintained their daughters rather than raise them, and they wanted to be their friend. I know that for sure. A lot of women my age, we have children the same age. I raised my son and my daughter very strict, or with morals, if you will. I was not their friend. I was their mother. And a lot of the other mothers wanted to hang out with their daughters. I don't really think that's cool. So now guess who's the mom that they all come and talk to for advice?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I think just in general, we don't, and this is not me, but just in general, we don't have enough respect for our men. We just don't listen to them. We automatically think that we're the better communicator because we talk more or we're more passionate. And just because someone speaks with the most passion doesn't mean they get to define the narrative.
Right.
I personally think that men are better communicators through their body language and what have you. You have to learn to listen to what someone doesn't say as far as, what they are saying. Our men are very logical and we need that balance. And I don't understand why that's not respected, or why we just can't see as a whole how our men have been treated in general by society. And that be enough and say, hey, wait, time out. We cannot allow anyone to emasculate our men, disenfranchise our men any further. If we're coming up in the food chain in the corporate world, if you will, we need to give that money back within our community and build up our men, right? Because that selfishly will help us. It's just very, 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 very disjointed. So I want to apologize for the women, just on their behalf. If they've ever done anything to you, I apologize for them. I'm trying. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right?
Well, listen, we love and appreciate women of such rare substance. Of course, you're a Leo, so that puts you in a class above the rest. All right, Snake Whisperer. When you think about the women of the past, the Proverbs 31 woman, when you think about your grandma, when you think about your mom, what elements of the Proverbs 31 woman that you see in your mother that you don't see in modern American women?
Well, man, I was super blessed, bro, because my mom was raised like my grandmother, had this big ego, and she thought she was, I don't know, she thought she was some sort of superstar or whatever, but she ran off and left my grandfather with 5 kids and a farm. Mm. And my grandfather they had 6 kids. She took my mother's youngest sister with her, left the other 5 kids. But my grandfather raised all 5 kids. They worked on the farm. They went to school. So my grandfather was like God to my mother. Mm-hmm. Saying, so my mother, you will be hard pressed to find a woman who had more respect for men than my mother. You know what I'm saying? So I was raised by a woman who spoke to me like a man when I was a kid, who respected me like a man when I was a kid. I was 5 years old, and my mother took me and my brother and went through how a gentleman conducts himself on a date. When she cooked dinner and everything, she went out the door. She had us open the door, pull out the chair, what knife to use, what fork, everything. How to put together flower arrangements, how to stand your ground, like what you do not take from a woman. She was just, like I said, I can't even tell you. And then when her and my father got together, and my mother and my father split up when I was like 3 years old. But my father, I don't know life without my dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? My father was always there. My mother always spoke kindly of him. I would crack jokes on my father, and my mother would correct me, because there was a point in time he was working a lot, and sometimes he wouldn't show up. And his nickname was Dave. And I'd be, oh, there's dependable Dave. That's what I would call him, clowning him. You know, and my mom would be like, yo, you don't talk about your father like that. You know, and my father was always around. My mother was just a magnet for masculine men. Like my father had 24 brothers and sisters. I have 15 uncles on my father's side. They loved my mom. They were always over at my house. I mean, I was surrounded by masculine men because of the way my mother made them feel, the respect that she had for them. And even young men in my neighborhood, like my house was always full because my mother just knew how to talk to young men, and because she respected men, she had a love for men. So, you know, and my sisters were taught that same thing. So I'm the youngest, but my sisters treated me with the respect of like I'm their big brother. You know what I'm saying? I could literally give you an example. My sisters were older than me, right? But me being an athlete, I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. I would walk in the house, and sometimes there would be guys in the house who were like we were talking about, clowns like Future, and you know, just idiots. And I would look at the guy, and they'd be like, "What are you doing here?" And they'd be like, "Oh, well, this and that." I'm like, "Nah, you gotta go. Like, you're a clown. I know who you are." My sisters would sit there and say nothing, because their belief was, that's my brother. He's out here in the streets and stuff. He knows what's going on. If he says that you're no good, I'm pretty confident you're no good. Now, on the flip side, my friends were fighting with their sisters over the clowns that they wanted to date. Oh, you don't know him like I do, but I love him. And all this. Next thing you know, they're having babies and stuff, you know, and the guy is nowhere to be found. So I said all that to say, it's just, that was the difference, having a mother who had respect for men. And that was throughout my family. I can honestly say, like, on my mother's side, on my father's side, I was not raised around women who constantly, I saw them, but they weren't related to me. You know what I'm saying? So to Kimberly's point, like, I grew up in a time period when welfare became popular, feminism became popular. I saw women throwing their men out of their houses because they could, and getting on public assistance, and guys running through them. Because, I mean, in the 70s, in the early 80s, if a guy had a job, he wasn't making a whole, most times, you know, black guys were like the last hired, first fired. So if you let your man go, public assistance is going to kind of be equivalent to what he was bringing to the table. So now you don't have to listen to him, and you can have as many dudes running through there as you want without affecting your income. And if you have another child, you just, you know, you apply for more public assistance. Like, I saw that. The government, to me, the government and feminism really destroyed, you know, what you're calling the Proverbs 31 woman. Those were the two most powerful things that I saw, because feminism told women, you don't need a man. But I grew up on Long Island. You know this. And what's important about this is this. I saw white feminists, and even to this day, white feminists, their feminism is in the street. They don't bring that home. Even if their man makes more than them, they don't bring that home. So they're telling women, oh, you don't need a man, you don't have to listen to a man, blah, blah, blah. They say all of that in the street, and the vast majority of them go home, and the husband is wearing the pants. Mm-hmm. Man, I've seen so many white men check family members, not even their wives, bro, people that are related to them or women that they know. Oh, you're talking too much. What's wrong with you? Like, just shut them up like Thanos, man. Thanos snapped, they don't have nothing to say. Try that in our community. But that's the respect that they have for their men. This is a guy who has no romantic connection to a woman at all, and will check her about her behavior, and she will immediately fall in line. But it's respect. To Kimberly's point, women, Kimberly and Blair, you both brought up a good point. The thing is this: our women are very impressionable when it comes to media. Like they want their relationships to mirror relationships that they see on reality TV and all of this. And so the disrespect that they've seen shown to Black men in the media, they now mirror that too. They think that they can disrespect us because that's what they see in the media. And it's also why they get so upset when they see Black men get into interracial relationships and the woman is respecting the man, because the man, they're seeing women show Black men respect that they don't think Black men deserve. You don't deserve that respect. But the funny thing about it is that when they see someone else show you respect, and I know this from experience, they will now respect you. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I've had a lot of experience with Black women disrespecting me. I don't, because I don't take that off of anybody. And I carry myself in such a way where they tread lightly around me. They do not want any type of confrontation. They don't want it. But they will resent me being shown respect that they, just as a Black man, they feel that I shouldn't have. But because someone else gives it to you, now they will flip the script and they will give it to you. But so it's like you are validated by other women, which makes no sense. Like if I'm respectful towards you and I come at you correctly, then you should respect me because I'm respecting you. Why does it have to be another woman, that makes you now want to respect me? Right. But I don't want to get off on a tangent, but that's, in the bottom line, that's what it is, bro. It's the feminism and the social welfare has put women in a position where they think that they can be disrespectful to men and that they can do whatever they want to do with no consequences.
But Blair, I need you and Gene and myself. We need to make sure we escort Dr. O off the show at the end, because we got the six shooter in the house, Dr. O McCoy Turner. Dr. O, introduce yourself. Please unmute yourself. Please introduce yourself there. You're muted. Can you hear us? Yes. So, oh my God. Unmute yourself, Dr. O, and introduce yourself to the panel guests.
I'm normally not late because that's like a pet peeve of mine. So my apologies, I'm being late. My name is I'm trying to look professional.
Well, you're professional. You're fine.
Okay. I hear an echo. I don't know.
You're fine. You're frozen too. You're frozen too. All right, Dr. O, somebody must stung her. But anyway, so Blair, your books, you did a book about love is not a beautiful thing until it's not. Right. When you think about the intricacies of relationships, women of the past were wife ready. You're a recent marriage. You just recently got married to your beautiful wife. What did you see in your wife now that you didn't see in modern relationships prior to marrying her? What elements did you see in your wife that prompted you to marry her that you didn't see in a lot of women that you dated in the past? I
hear an echo. I'm going to log out and come back in.
That's cool.
Did you hear me, Blair?
Yeah. I thought, okay, yeah. So, well, let me answer by saying this. A lot of that was me because, I don't know if it was Gene or if it was Kimberly, I can't remember, that spoke to it, but the guys that were, I'll say like this, and I don't want everybody to kind of hush, but the future, what we talk about future a lot, I was a baby future. And I had to say that. I was that guy, right? I was that guy.
Right.
Up until about 2009, I was that guy, right? So for a number of years, marriage wasn't even something I had even on the radar. I mean, I met a lot of different women who were great women, but I mean, I was just kind of in that mindset. I was just moving through women, unfortunately, and, broke a lot of hearts, went back and tried to, kind of remedy the situation. But yeah, marriage wasn't something I had to get right with myself first. So marriage wasn't something I started to do. I've always been a kind of a late bloomer with everything that I do. And so marriage wasn't something I was even interested in until maybe 10, 11 years ago. So, but as far as what I was looking for, there were a number of different things. I was looking for a woman of humility, meaning that, can I come to you if I have a problem and I say, hey, this is an issue, we got to talk about this, right? If you want to, jump back and have a little face and have an attitude, then now we're going to have a problem, right? So do you have a level of humility? Can I come to you with a very, very legitimate issue and say, we need to speak about this, and not have you be flippant as a lot of our women can be, right? That was the very first thing. As we always talk about you mentioned it, Seventh, having a high level of femininity. My wife, excuse me, sorry, baby. Ooh. My wife is extremely feminine. And that was one of the things, she was always classy, even, because I had followed her on social media for a while before I even said anything. And so I would watch responses that she had to certain men, when men kind of come and clown and say what they say. She always was very much above the board. If a man came and said something kind of slick, she always just dismissed herself and said, okay, well, thank you for your, whatever. She never got the sister girl, look, she never got into that side of mindset. So I was like, man, I really like that. That's very cool. Yeah. Great cook. I would probably put her cooking skills, and this is going to make everybody go quiet, on par with my mom. She's damn near a chef. She can cook at anything. She's sweet as she wants to be. She's very family oriented, has a huge family, which I come from kind of a small family. My family is very disjointed, but comes from a huge family. That was very important. Like I said, Black family first. Are you Black family first? That was extremely, extremely critical to me. If you're thinking about your selfishness and very self-serving and I want to do this and I want to have a kid and you're not the woman for me. You're really not. So that was, one of the things. She's extremely attractive, so that was pretty much a given. So those are the things that I looked for. Do you have a good heart, a genuinely good heart, not because I want to post it on IG and want people to see me. Do you have a very good heart? Do you also have good relations and friendships with other women, right? Mm-hmm. You have long-standing, long-term relationships with other women, because you hear a lot of women say things like, well, I don't dig women. Women kind of catty, and y'all catty sometimes. Mm-hmm. But can you have and cultivate and nurture good friendships with other women, right? So that was very important. So, loves children, loves being gracious, just an all around good sister. So when I met her, like I said, I followed her for a while just to kind of see and didn't tell her, didn't say, I'm watching you. I'm back here watching you. I just kind of followed her and looked at her moves. I would kind of dip in, dip out every once in a while. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? I never said anything about the fact, I think you're fine. I think you're so fine. I just kind of watched her from a distance, and that was pretty much it. And then once I strike, I'm in there. So then I kind of let her know, and I was like, let's go out, whatever. And for me, I'll be honest, there was 4 different women I was dating at the time I met her. So slowly but surely, and you fellas will know this, I started shutting down my operation. I was like, you know what? I done found one. After about 6-8 months, I was like, I done found, y'all ain't got no chance. She is shooting threes from the half, at half court. So I'm like, there's no chance of another woman coming in. So at that point, I said, okay, this is the real deal. She is for real, the real deal. So
right. Listen, Dr. O, Gene, and Brother Blair Nash, make sure we escort security for this 6 shooter. This Texas 6 shooter.
I'm going on Facebook like, how did I get down to 300 frames? What happened?
Listen, we want to escort security for him. But listen, Dr. O, I want you to introduce yourself once again in this second expose of the paradox of the feminine mystique and the vanishing conservative traditional woman. I want you to more or less give your expose about the vanishing traditional conservative woman And I personally, Dr. O, don't feel like it's going to ever come back again into fruition.
Yeah.
I think the days of yesterday are long gone. I think women are. Go ahead.
Can I say something real quick? Just real quick.
Before
she goes and makes her comment, does anybody have like a that Soul Glow like song from Coming to America on and everything? Because I want to shout out to Dr. Turner about her great hair and everything. Does anybody have that we can play right now? Just
give me a minute. I'm gonna bring on the minute.
Yeah. We see you, sister.
So
both of you ladies, go ahead.
So no, but seriously, I we've talked about this before, Seven, and my thing is, and I'm sure Kim will agree, I think I do think it's the last of a dying breed. I don't believe that it will come back, because it's not enough ladies like Kim and I out there voicing that opinion, in order to show them, hey, it's cool, to be a wife, hey, it's cool, to be anything aside from a baby mother, what they think is cool. It's cool to not be 45, 50, and 60, wearing tight stuff, using old ideas to try to pull men. And it's cool to be in a committed relationship. It's cool to have good credit. It's cool not to be 40 years old in an apartment, all these things, we got to bring it back. We got to bring back the traditions of cooking. I love to cook. I think most women, as Blair explained, most women in a certain caliber enjoy cooking. We enjoy, ignore my daughter. We enjoy cooking. We enjoy cleaning. We enjoy doing everything that, as y'all remember, sugar and spice and everything nice. And I think if more women are vocal about that, I think it would catch on. But I really think, it's the last of a dying breed, unfortunately, because we have older women who do not want to be older. They want to be young. And, as y'all all know how I feel about that. I think they're bad, built, deflated, washed up, worn out, clubbed out, banged out, beat out. It is what it is. So, it's just the last of a dying breed.
Well, but before you go any further, hold tight. I got something for the audience. I got something for the people. So hold tight. Hold tight, Dr. O. We're gonna bring you on to Beulah. We're gonna bring you to the promised land. We're gonna bring her to the promised land. We're gonna
Oh.
And
we're gonna bring her to the promised land.
And actually,
that's
my
one. That's one.
there you go.
He would look that up.
All right. We got the soul glow with Dr. O.
And you know what? Oddly enough, my last name is McDowell. That is my last name, Kimberly McDowell. So when I tell my last name, they say, "Oh, like in Coming to America?" I say, "Yeah, that's it."
That is funny. So you got the last name, and she has the hair.
Exactly. So this was all meant to be. Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
Right.
Well, listen.
Do like this one time, to Miss Turner. Do like that one.
It's Dr. McCoy now. But
so real quick, I want to ask you a question, Dr. McCoy, Dr. Turner.
Sure.
Why aren't women wife ready? Why aren't they wife ready? Why aren't American women wife ready?
I think because we make it unattractive, because I hear a lot of like we have feminine influencers on there who aren't married, so we have women on here giving false information as to what marriage is. We don't make marriage look cool. We make marriage look like something, that's not supposed to be done. We make slutism look good, and that's a made up word, but we make that kind of stuff look good. We have to make being committed and committed relationships look great, because I mean, it's a great place when you pick the right person. You have to know the individual. You're not going to know an individual. For instance, in my first book, I wrote Dating is for Data. And I say that because you're supposed to collect as much data about people as possible. You don't just meet somebody and jump in the bed with them and know nothing about them, and then y'all realize y'all have nothing in common. I think you have to go back to the ways of almost like courtship, when you're asking questions. Some people don't even know the person's favorite color. Some people don't even know the person's middle name. They don't know these people's date of birth. So I think you have to go back to the floor levels of relationships and really make it cool to where you get to that point of it's time to get married and go from there. And I don't think I'm sure, Blair, you can probably say that it doesn't take no year or two, to say, hey, I'm gonna marry somebody. It doesn't take that long.
Right.
So,
go ahead, brother.
And I was going to say, to add on to Dr. Turner's comment, I think also the reason why it's so hard is because you have to have a certain discipline with it. In order to be someone where men look at you and say, wow, she is a keeper. That means you have to, all the things that men talk about that they say that they're looking for, you have to do them simultaneously and continuously. Right. Correct. So if we say to you, hey, you got to get your attitude in check. That has to happen all the time, not just, I was cool until he said this. It has to happen all the time. Do you, and this is going to be a sore spot. Do you have the look that a lot of men are wanting out here, who are they're looking for, right, to date long term, right? Exactly. If you look at men who are, we have this kind of overused term called high value, but I'll use that for the conversation. If you look at high value men, meaning men who have the choice and option of whether or not they want to date a particular type of woman, right? If you look at a high value type of man, if you look across the board, there's a certain kind of pedigree and cachet of woman that he looks for. Right. So you have to honestly ask yourself, am I that type of woman? If you're not, get in the gym, do what you got to do, get your hair together, do whatever you got to do to kind of at least give yourself a fighting chance. You can't, this whole, seventh, we've talked a lot about this phrase that we have called the Disney complex, which basically, for those of you who don't know, it's basically an ideal that whatever a woman does, even from almost birth, it's supposed to be okay. And so if she has a bad temper, or if she's whatever, it's okay. And it starts young, because we teach little girls in their formative years that it's okay if you have if you have a bad temper, or you have a bad day, it's okay. And so what happens is these little girls end up being adult women. And so they take into their adult years, I can be selfish, I can be self-centered, I can be mean and rude, and someone's going to always love me. And so what happens with a lot of our women especially is they get to a certain age and they realize, yeah, I'm cute, I always got men who want to get with me and sleep with me, but I don't really have a lot of men who are willing to build a long-term situation with me. And so, or at least the kind of men that they want to get with. So I think you got to ask yourself, if all these men who are high value men aren't looking to you as someone to build with, you got to look inwardly and say, there's something about me that I'm not doing and I'm not bringing to the table that's making these men just go the other way when they see me. And that's what I mean by the discipline, in that you have to ask yourself some very hard questions. Is my attitude right? Is my look right? If I'm sitting here and I have 3 children and I have 2 or 3 different dads, how is that going to look to a high value man when he has his pick of the litter of all these different women out here? Right. So these are some hard questions you got to ask yourself. Go right ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah. But, and I get that, but not the negative qualifier would be, I've tried to talk to my sisters about those kinds of things. They don't listen because they already have the answer. So I don't waste my time on people who feel that I'm wrong or feel that they're right or don't have their mind open. And by the time they do get to the point of realization and the point of reckoning, as Dr. O would say, it's too late. You're washed up.
Yes, you are.
It's done. So, and that takes a real level of maturity. And I really do think that in your heart of heart, you have to be that at your core from the very beginning. That's how you have to be raised, right? You may go through your bumps and bruises and your experiences through life, but Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow, they will come back to it.
Right.
A lot of us, it's just not our fabric, and it's sad. I'm just being real.
Can I say something real quick? Do you mind?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Real quick. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make this my last comment because I got a date with the wifey and everything. But I will say, to your point, Kimberly, I'll tell you a quick story. There was a young lady, and of course, me being a consultant, I don't speak to who it is, but there was a young lady I was coaching, and I had, was coaching her, and we had been coaching at that time for maybe about 5 months. And, I mean, she got my books and she was like, oh my God, I never knew these things. Oh my Lord. Right. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm really good. They're 29 years old. Gorgeous sister. I mean, absolutely stunning. Great personality, the whole nine. Right. So I called her for a session one time and didn't pay. I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay. So called her, a few times and never really heard anything. Then I called her like after the session, the failed session. Didn't hear from her for about maybe 3 months. Come to find out, she had gotten pregnant by a bum. And I mean an adulterated bum. And when I tell you, to your point, Kimberly, when I tell you, it absolutely crushed me. I mean, I was just like, because I thought I was getting through to the sister. And I was like, she's the light is coming. She's seeing it. She's getting it. And then when she, finally, like I said, months down the road, when she finally told me, this is why I hadn't, whatever, because she's like, I knew you'd be disappointed. I didn't even know what to say. And it just really crushed me. So to your point, it is very hard because you're trying to get a message over to our sisters that they really don't want to hear. When you say, hey, you got to do this, there's kind of a 6-step process that you got to get on board with right now, not next week, right now, in order to be considered a decent enough woman to even be qualified to date certain men. They're not hearing you. They don't want to listen because when you tell them, hey, you can't be out here having indiscriminate sex. Hey, you can't have a whole bunch of this. You can't be putting all kinds of seductive poses on social media. And you can't, there's a whole list of things and then whatever. They don't want to hear that because that means I'm going to start losing all these guys who holler at me and tell me I'm queen and all this other stuff. These guys are going to start dropping off. And it's hard. It's a hard, almost, I think, I don't want to say impossible, but it's a hard message to get across to sisters that you want them to see certain things. And so what I do, and I'll make this my very last point, what I've had to do is really kind of remove myself from certain women when I see that you're not getting the message. I'm great at what I do with my coaching, but I'm not going to sit here and spend your money and my time telling you a message that you don't want to hear. Right. So I've had to kind of distance myself and say, you know what, she's not about her, she's not about trying to learn and really get some real game about herself. She just wants excuses and she wants someone to Derek Jackson her and tell her everything's going to be fine. And I'm not going to do that. So I get you, sister. I really understand. I really do.
Blair, before you go, real quick, brother. So guys in the audience listening, make sure you check out Blair's book, that Love is a Beautiful Thing Till It Ain't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ask Russell Wilson 5 years from now. Black Money, Sex, and Relationships.
Absolutely, yeah.
And illuminating the battlefield as it relates to ways Black relationships and Black culture are being challenged. And you're correct before you leave, Mr. Nash. It is very challenging and very daunting. It's almost like Black men in America have been emasculated so much that when masculine men do speak out, it's like we become the pariahs of society. And what people don't understand, I saw a lady recently. I know you got to go. She was crying when I gave a session. I'm gonna do a show on that at some point about how she had an opportunity in her younger years, but because she didn't take a chance of it, now she's going to potentially die alone. I call it death by desperation. That's one of the last stages of Erickson, called ego integrity versus despair. But like I said, I'm honored, brother, to have had you on the show. Unfortunately, you got to go early. You had great insight and wisdom. Please come back again at some point. Let's have this conversation again. We need to expound upon this message.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you in the safe house.
Right. Good seeing all of y'all.
And listen, we shared this information on your page, because they got a brother locked up. All right, be good, Blair.
Bye, Blair. Nice to meet you.
Bye, Blair. Hey, man, I actually haven't experienced like what Blair just described with a woman that I dated. I actually told you about her. So I met this woman on social media, I was like, wow, she's gorgeous, she's smart, blah, blah, blah. So I hit her up. She was like, yeah, I'm attracted to you too, but I just started dating somebody. I was like, okay, cool. So for about 3 years, we were friends. We would talk like maybe once a month. And then all of a sudden she hit me up and she was like, asking me all these questions, because I never hit on her or anything. But anyway, at the time she had her master's degree. The clown that she was dating, he was acting up. She was asking me advice and stuff. I gave her the advice, but I've been trying to hit on her. So that really impressed her. So she started calling me more. Long story short, she ended up breaking up with him. She went to therapy with him and decided in therapy that this wasn't for her. So then me and her started talking more. And then she flew out from LA, and we actually started dating. Very serious relationship.
Okay, you know what I'm doing.
Very serious relationship. So anyway, at this point, she was doing her PhD. And I mean, she thought like, okay, he does care about me, because at first she was kind of like, shy and kind of scared. But then once she realized I actually did care about her, she became so combative and like always wanted to argue. I mean, the only place that she was agreeable was in bed. Outside the bedroom, she was a mess. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. So long story short, I broke up with her. And I would say maybe 4 to 6 months later, she turned up pregnant by a dude 8 years her junior. So it's like, and I saw that she wanted to be the dominant one in the relationship. Mm-hmm. She found someone that she could dominate, a guy 8 years her junior, and she ended up like pregnant by him. So here you are, a PhD student, / baby mama, because the dude never married her. Mm-hmm. And now she's got like a 2-year-old daughter or something, a 3-year-old daughter probably now. But yeah, exactly what he was saying. I saw like this dude. I mean, she just got with like a what amounts to a child for her, Now she has a baby and she's by herself. And with all that education and all her understanding of the odds that are stacked against children that are born into single parent households, she still went and did it.
And Gene.
It's unfortunate.
Gene.
Yes.
You're my brother. And the minute you should have left his sister is when she told you she was in therapy with that brother. You should have staged right, because they'll let you know it's some problems. I would have backed up. That right there would have been something after 2:00. I mean, I would have backed up because, first of all, she's showing you her character. She's with someone. She's going through therapy with them. But you better than him. I'm going to holler at you. This is somebody who's confused.
No,
Yes.
That's not how it happened. Like the way it happened was, I mean, she was talking to me, but we weren't like flirting or anything. She's like, I respect you. You're one of the few guys who come into my DMs and you're not trying to get at me. So I want to get your opinion. That's how she came to me.
Right. But the problem is she should have been having that discussion with the man she was having problems with. Although you were a good friend, her shoulder should have been leaned on to the person she was in therapy with. So no, out the gate, just like, out the gate, she came out wrong. So
Good point. I never thought about it that way. That's a good point.
Mm-mm.
Dr. O, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Marriage rates are faltering.
Mhm.
You're newlywed. What aspects of your femininity did you use to more or less captivate the mind of your husband, or in past relationships?
Uh-huh.
What aspects
Well,
of your femininity did you use to captivate
well,
in the
I
past?
don't really think or us as being newlyweds, because we were married 13 years or
Yes, ma'am.
14
Right.
before, so
Mhm.
we old school, we old. But I think and he'll tell you himself, I think the thing about it with him is we've been friends. We've been very, very good friends.
Mhm.
It's not a secret on this planet. He doesn't, know about me. We did a lot of things together. I always reiterate that I was completely transparent and open with him. And I think a lot of women are not open. They're afraid to be open because they're afraid of the consequences. I think that's what it is. First of all, my openness. He'll tell anybody. You got a chance to talk to him a little bit, but he'll tell anybody. This is like, this is my best friend. I've known this woman probably more than 20 years or more. We know everything about each other, insides and outs. So I think honesty is very important, no matter how ugly it is. I think you have to be honest with that person, and
Mhm.
that is what's going to bring the longevity into a relationship. And it's funny because this morning we got up and we were talking about that because somebody said, well, y'all be laughing. Do y'all really be that happy? I said, yeah, because I ain't got nothing to hide, from him. He see my belly when it jiggle. He see what I look like when I get up in the morning. He know my past. Can't nobody tell him nothing about my past, but all that's in my book. This man know me. He know me inside out. So I think that's very important. I think that commitment and honesty is the two most important things anybody can have in a relationship. Outside of that, it's not going to be anything, because if you start something on a fake foundation, the entire thing is going to be a fake foundation. And that's
Mhm.
how I look at that.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
want to tell everybody hi? No. That's my daughter. Come on.
Right. Right.
Oh, she's such a such a
Right.
special lady. Girl, you drive me crazy.
Kimberly, I want to ask you a question, young lady, and Gina, I want you to bring it in. Why are white women wife ready? Women of past were wife ready. What's happened to the women that were wife ready of the past compared to now? Why are the modern American women wife ready?
Are you asking me why aren't more American women
Women
wife ready?
wife ready, yes, ma'am.
Um, they're not thinking about marriage. It's like what Dr. O said. Not being married and living your best life, that's the trend right now, and they don't understand that that's just a trend. You know what I mean? It's not, relationships and respect for our men aren't something that is practiced and something that is rendered any longer. There's just been this loss of translation. It's been lost in translation over the generations, I believe, especially in our community. And then women aren't teaching their daughters certain things. And, it's one thing to pick the right man, but it's another thing to be attracted to him. I think that's the big thing. I think that a lot of people feel that women and or men should be attracted to the right type. But if they're not taught what to be attracted to, if they're not taught compatibility, if they're not taught self-worth, if they're not taught the value of self-branding, and what you do now will hurt you in the long run. Like Jean said last time, you have to have an expiration on your thoughtness. There's no expiration date on thoughtness. It's free fall. People forget that there are diseases out there. That's nasty. It's just people feel that they're invincible. And then why get married? What's the benefit in getting married anymore? And that's a facetious question. I know the benefit, but that's what they're saying. Why get married? I can't compete with that. I'm not going to try to compete with it. I'm just going to let my light so shine that others may see my good works. Come to me with the question, and then, you know, we can have that conversation.
Right. No,
You know,
respect. Respect. Go ahead, Dr. O.
and I just want to add something too. I think nowadays a lot of women mistake them going to school. You know, they think going to school is going to get a man for them. They think education, a lot of Black women think education is like the high horse of, you know, attracting the right man, when it's a lot of other components that come into that, because men aren't interested in education. You know, as we all know, they want to know about your personalities. And a lot of women, especially the women that I talk to, the first thing they tell me is, well, I got a great degree. You know, I have a bachelor's degree, or I have this and that, but you're telling me all these superficial things about you, but you're not telling me about you. And I think when we go into school, a lot of other women of other races, when they go to school to find their husbands. We go to school to be cute and to get in a fraternity and sorority. So that's where we mess up. Other women teach their daughters, okay, when y'all go to school, y'all going to school to find a husband, this and that. We don't teach that, you know, in the Black communities. We teach our girls oftentimes, I mean, I didn't teach my daughter that, of course, but in our time, I've heard women say, well, oh, does he have a good car? That's the first thing, you know, most Black women say. Do we have a good car? Girl, what he look like? I heard he got some money. You know, so we grow up with the wrong values when it comes to teaching our young ladies, you know, what it is to look for. He must be a provider and he must be a protector. That's first and foremost. And my daughter Jazz, I tell you, I'm always preaching, marry before you carry. You're not going to come in here with no basket babies and say you didn't know better. You must be married. You know, I believe in the institution of marriage, but a lot of young ladies do not get to hear that type of stuff. We just go in there with the wrong stuff, the wrong makeup. So we don't know.
It's the absence of masculine authority and masculine presence, part of the demise, not only in the infrastructure as it relates to community, but also, Dr. O, Kimberly, and Jean, as it relates to modern relationships. I think there was a time in the past where girls, they grew up in families where they had fathers, it became second nature to them for them to defer to their dads or to defer to their husbands. But so many, you know, with almost 70% out of wedlock, I mean, not out of wedlock, but single parent home rate, like 74%, 75, damn near almost 80%. I think that is playing to the pathology that you guys are actually seeing in modern America. And sadly, nobody's talking about it. You know, and I tell people that with great freedom comes great responsibility. It's your right to do what you want to do. Do what you want to do, but there's a responsibility that comes along with that. So I want you guys to hearken upon that sentiment and more or less explore it and explain it as it relates to this current malaise called the feminine mystique.
Well, but to Kimberly's point, people do talk about it, but they openly reject it. Like, you know, and they gang up on women. Any woman who is going to talk about traditional values, about marriage, about marry before you carry, is going to get attacked.
Right.
Get attacked viciously. It's like, and the irony of that is that those same women, all you have to do is change the man in the scenario, make it a white guy. All of a sudden, all of that stuff is appealing to them. Submission is appealing to them. Marrying before they carry is appealing to them. Being a traditional wife is appealing to them. So it really boils down to the lack of respect for the Black man in this within our own community is just not there. And matter of fact, it's beyond lack of respect. There's contempt. There's contempt for Black men. And so some of the things that you're talking about, just being the head of the household, the head of a family, they don't believe that we deserve it. Even if you earn it, even if you do the things that you're supposed to do, you still don't deserve it, because at the end of the day, you're still a Black man. But I will tell you this from experience. Eventually, when it's too late, they figure it out. And the reason I say that is because me and you, we've had our conversations. I've told you a lot of stuff. But
after he speaks, may something.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with me and you, we've had a lot of conversations. I mean, when I'm on these dating apps, I mean, I get hundreds of these women who have, like Dr. O said, they're out there partying with their daughters, and they just can't let their heyday go. And now they feel vulnerable, especially during COVID. They feel vulnerable. They want somebody to love. And, all that lifestyle, it takes a toll. They don't look like either one of you. You look like my aunt or my mother or something like that, and they're all in your inbox, and they bro, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this to brag, but right now, like I get women sending me all kinds of crazy packages and stuff, like trying to buy me into a relationship.
Right.
Don't send me anything. I don't need anything from you. But that's the level of, and telling you their professional accomplishments and all this stuff. It's because they don't want to die alone. And I understand it. I'm not here to take advantage of anybody, and I don't do it. But you can't. One even did this, bro. I posted a video on IG, a workout video, and I was having a conversation in the comment section about some kettlebells that I wanted to get. This woman actually texted me and said, "What kettlebells are those that?" like trying to buy them for me, and I'm like, I didn't. You can't buy them for me, and it became an argument. And so, well, I'm not trying to buy you. Oh, yeah, you are trying to buy me. Don't tell me that you're not trying to buy me. This is what you're trying to do. But this is how far they've taken it, to the point where they're so afraid that they're out here trying to buy guys, the ones that are successful and have money, trying to buy love, trying to buy affection. And it's, that's no way to live. It's sad, really. That's where they're at.
If I may say something.
Yes,
A
ma'am.
long time ago, I had a conversation with some childhood friends, and we were talking about fixing our man's plate. And I have a problem. I'll cook it, I'll make it, I'll put it on the table, I'll clean it up, I'll wash. I am just confident in myself enough to be able to do that. And one of my good friends said, "Well, I'll make it, but I'm not gonna put it on the table for you." And another one said, "Well, he'll make it and I'll pick it up." So I just noticed then and there that there seems to be all of these conditions. Everything is conditional. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And my grandfather told me something a long time ago. He said, "If is the biggest word in the English language." So I think if we got away from the if factor and just felt more comfortable within ourselves and not so threatened because of what society has told us to be threatened of, or scared of, I think we'd be in a better place.
But they're not aware that society has told them that. Like, they're not aware that their contempt for black men is conditioning, that they've been taught this. They're not aware of it. They just think that it's indicative of their experiences with black men. That's what they think it is.
And if I may add on to that, I think a lot of problems with ladies of my age, older, younger, I think they have not been exposed to men. A lot of them don't know. They haven't been, again, around their uncles, grandfathers. They don't know, these things. They probably don't go to many family functions, because if so, they would see the women in the family preparing the men's plates. I mean, it's like second nature. That's something too, I'm sure, Kim, you can agree, that's something that just comes second. It would feel strange. Like my daughter sitting here, I have to fix her plate too. It would feel foreign, if we didn't do this. This is just what we're supposed to do. I fix everybody's plate, put it on the table, put the condiments on the table, put the drinks on the table, napkins, everything. But to women that have not been exposed to that type of environment, I think they would look at it in a different way. It's just a foreign language to them.
To your point, I want to say this real quick. To your point, when I was married, my ex-wife is Cuban, right? She's a physician like yourself. When she was raised that way. When she would fix my plate, African-American women would be like, what are you doing fixing his plate? You're the doctor. You should be fixing her plate.
again,
All the time. You should be fixing her plate. You should be fixing her plate.
and that's because of a piece of paper, that means nothing. It shouldn't mean more than the values that we were brought up with. And I think that's where a lot of women mistake it. Like I was talking to Seven one day this week. I was talking to a lady who got very upset at me. She had a master's degree. And I asked her, I said, well, how do you see yourself? How do you value yourself? And she said, oh, well, I know I'm about a 9, 10. I was like, wow. I said, well, what makes you that? I said, I'm not even an 8 myself. I said, what makes you that? Well, I got this, this, and this. When I broke, this woman is in an apartment, y'all. She's 51 or 52. She's in an apartment. Obviously, her credit score is poor. She's 5'2", and my daughter was laughing. She tried to convince me that being 250, 265 pounds is thick. I'm like, at 5'2", are you kidding me? That's not thick.
I'm
It's
6'2",
that.
245. I mean,
Oh,
she
she got you
outweighing me.
beat. Yeah,
And I'm a
but
foot
she
taller.
right. So I mean, you have women out here who are misguided. They're overvaluing themselves based on education and the fact that she's some type of assistant somewhere. Well, my goodness, I'm a VP at a healthcare organization. My God, I'm sure my salary. I'm not even an 8. What makes you an 8, lady? I'm wondering because, like I told her, you're fat, you're sloppy. You can put on a girdle, you're still going to look sloppy in your presentation. Can you pull your hair off and still have real hair? No. So we're talking to women who have a false reality, right? A false reality of what they look like. And so this is what's out here. We have women out here who don't live in the real world. They live in fantasy island. They want these fantastic men and they're fat. And I blame it on the men because, Gene, brother, you're gonna have to start telling these women the truth. Tell them the truth.
I do tell them the truth.
Yes.
I just didn't see your point with her at that point in time. And honestly, I didn't expect her to come out of nowhere and say matter of fact, she just came out of nowhere and told me she liked me. Like, I didn't expect that. But to your point, what you were just saying, it is the men, because we have we have an overabundance of simps in the Black community.
Yes.
Two things, simps and homosexuals. So a homosexual will gas that woman up so that he can live with her.
Yes.
Because he got no place to stay. He want to get off his mama's couch. He'd be like, oh, baby, you so fine. Oh, my God.
Right.
So between
Please be honest.
Sexuals, man, you can't make any headway because anything you say to them, the simps and the homosexuals are going to combat it with nonsensical nonsense.
Right.
Go ahead, Otto. And so and that's the quandary that we have now. It's the emasculation of the masculine that's causing such a disruption in the broader community. When you have more or less people like Gene, Kimberly, and myself and Dr. O, they're more or less trying to pontificate points to help the environment is met with so much resistance. One of the things that we use in the therapeutic model is called the cow locus and that locus. It's a child adolescent level of utilization system. And then you have the locus level of care utilization system for adults. And the recovery environment plays a key role to the psycho development of a child. But the problem is a lot of our families are so disjointed. And, to piggyback on what Gene said, Dr. O, you're a doctor, but you cook for your husband. I say you cooking for him all the time. And what women don't understand, it does not make you irrelevant if you cook for your man. They say, oh, he can cook for me. But then why be married?
Right.
Just stay single. I mean,
right.
you make it a power struggle, like Kim was saying about the word if. If you do things for your man genuinely, it's not that a man won't do for you in the long term. I think a lot of our women don't get that, Doctor.
Right. I mean, I have to agree with that. And like I say, again, most people know, me and my husband's background. My husband, he's an ex-felon. I tell people this. And once upon a time, he and I were going in and out of, I went to county jail. He went to prison, for doing things. So, I mean, we've done all types of things. And, with that same aspect, I've had, women to ask me, well, what do y'all have in common? Said the single fat Black woman. I don't listen to them kind of people because, like I say, I'm the higher earner in our household. But do I say that with him? Absolutely not. We combine incomes, and my husband work in the warehouse. Is he as educated as I am? Absolutely not. But we get along very well. We laugh, we joke. That's someone I can grow old with. Right. Our children here, everybody get along. So the way Black women think nowadays, they think that if they make 60,000, they want a man to make 120,000. When this is not even possible. I'm surprised I'm at the level I'm at, although I'm a Black female. But Black women have false expectations on Black men, and when I try to tell them, me being a white collar worker and the type of man they should be selecting, they look at me like I'm crazy. Again, said the fat Black, poor, low credit score, apartment living Black woman. So,
and what they don't. Go ahead, Kimberly. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do want to add a little bit because I'm how old am I? I'm 51. And I've had my experiences. I was married to my children's father.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
Even though I'm older, according to conversations that I've heard, I'm supposed to be washed up, what have you.
You're not washed up.
You're not washed up.
You know what I mean? I mean, ran through, clubbed out, washed out.
Yeah, but that's the majority, and Dr. O is right. That is the majority. But what keeps it together, and what I've tried to just socialize with my sisters and my Black sisters and my daughter and her friends, is be peaceful and be respectful.
Right.
And have an open mind. And yeah, I'm educated. I have degrees, but the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. Right. And there's formal education and there's informal education. And you have to keep a humble heart to be able to receive, and also to be able to kick all that junk out that Dr. O talks about, and to really be honest with yourself. And we need people like Dr. O, like Jean, like you, Seven, to just tell the truth. And if someone doesn't want it, that's fine, but they did hear it though. Thank you. True. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. What I wanted to add to this conversation is that I've been on both sides of the fence with these women, from the standpoint of like being a young guy, working my way up in the pharmaceutical industry, and being a guy who made more than the average guy, but not enough for these women who saw themselves living in a house in Westchester with a 2-car garage, and they stay home, and like I wasn't that dude. And so some of these women would be like, oh yeah, we can have fun or whatever. Like they treat you like you're the boy toy. Like we can have fun, but they're not going to take you seriously because they're waiting for Mr. Moneybags. So I've been on that side of the fence. And then when I got divorced, I was on the other side of the fence. I had my own house. I'm making 6 figures. I got a nice brand new, V8 SUV. And then every time I went on a date with a woman, they were like clamoring to get to my house, clamoring to stay the night, clamoring to get into a relationship. But those same level women, but when I was the guy working my way up, I was only good for fun. Now they're clamoring for, what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm the same guy. There was nothing different about me as far as like who I am, but just what I had more to offer. And like, that was, and to me, I found that insulting because I was going to go where I was going to go anyway. And this is what I respected about my ex-wife. My ex-wife was in medical school when we got engaged and we got married. She never asked me how much I made. She found out how much I made when we decided to get engaged and we went looking for rings. And the guy was like, well, how much do you make? Because it's, 2 months of your salary. And that's when that's when she found out, and she did not blink. She didn't blink. Like she knew at some point she was going to make more than me. She didn't care. I mean, we got engaged, we got married, and just seeing that difference, like I didn't date any of those women who were like trying to jump in a relationship with me because they saw that, I was doing well financially and I had my own home. I didn't date any of them because I didn't see them as being, because that same woman would not push for a relationship if I was that guy, making $45,000 a year like I was back then. Like I wouldn't have gotten that because they didn't want a relationship with me. Like I experienced that. I experienced being told that they wanted a relationship with someone who had more than I had. So to your point, like a lot of times women don't want to build with a man. They want to come along when you already have.
Right. Why is femininity so canned now? What I call canned femininity. Femininity in a can, almost like spam. Where you just dump it on the plate. And so in our first show we talked about the 3 archetypes, the Jezebel, the Delilah, and also the Proverbs 31 woman. But when you think about this new modern femininity movement that more or less espouses what I feel is a cliche, is femininity truly something that you're born with, or is it something that you have to be trained to become to get what you need and want? Kim, I want you and Dr. O to expound on that.
I'll throw the ball and Dr. O, you take it into the end zone. So I don't think femininity, I think it's something that you have, and as you go through life, there are women in your life that have to nourish that so it grows. Someone has to plant that seed. It is something that has to be genuine. I don't think femininity is more so how you look or how you carry yourself. That's a part of it. But I think true femininity is in your heart. And the love that you exude for your man and your family, and the actual caring part. That's what I found that our men are drawn to, that caring portion of us. It just can't be beat. See, there's power. I shouldn't say power, because that could be a bad thing. There's influence in submission. And I know that a lot of women don't realize that that's where our influence resides, in our submission. And it doesn't mean that we relinquish our voice when we're submissive. It just means that we actually are keeping our mouths shut and our ears open so we can be a better communicator.
Right.
And you're also heard better. A man is going to hear you better when you're submissive. Like your words carry way more weight, way more power with him, way more influence with him when a woman is submissive. When she's combative, I can deal with a combative woman like I deal with a combative dude. Like I can tune her out. I don't feel anything. She could say whatever. Like I am a block of ice. Nothing she says even matters because she's effectively a dude at this moment. And I'm treating her like a dude. Seriously. She's a dude.
And what many don't understand, Gene, Kimberly, and Dr. O, is that submission really is a duality. It's a duality that is even espoused in the Gospels. In the Gospels, the Bible said that Christ said, I've glorified the Father, but he's also glorified me. Christ had to submit to the will of God in order to manifest the virtues of God in heaven. But because a lot of people don't understand that, and most modern churches don't teach the importance of submission, because submission is a duality. Once again, the man submits to the woman by loving her, providing for her, protecting her, and dying for her. That's the male version of submission. But the woman submits to the authority of her husband by listening to him, honoring him, and that third word, obeying him in his program, as he is the king and she is the queen. It's a duality. And when they coalesce together, Dr. O, Kimberly, and Gene, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And the reason why I titled this show The Paradox of Femininity, because femininity can be beautiful, but it's also very dark. And I think you see the darkness of femininity now that you don't see from women in the past. The darkness that we see, guys, is a vying for power in the relationship. The darkness that you see, guys, is that, like you were saying, women that feel like because I have degrees, You know, I don't have to listen to you. Listen, I don't care about your degree. I'm highly educated myself. I need a woman that's gonna stir my fire. I need a woman that's gonna captivate my soul. I need a woman that's gonna help me become the better version of myself. I need my woman beside me, my queen, to help me rise above the morass that we have in society today. And so when I tell women the reason why men are aborting American women, it's not because they don't love American women, but American women have become a cesspool. So they go to countries because the masculine only responds to the feminine. They go to Brazil, like in Bahia. They go to Accra, Ghana. They go to Lagos, Nigeria. They go to Latin women, you know, from, you know, wherever, because those women are still in strong patriarchies where the women have been conditioned to love and respond to the men. And American men have been so trained to be egalitarian that when those women see American men, they love brothers. You know, some say that they don't like black men, but I think that's to the contrary. From what I've heard, women abroad love American black men because they're a lot more agreeable than their own husbands. You know.
Listen, bro.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seven.
Yes,
I'm in New York, brother. I can tell you from experience because they all come here. They all come here to visit. I can tell you from experience that women around the world see us as like you said, the most egalitarian men going, because compared to, because we most of us grow up in a matriarchy.
Matriarchy, right.
So the way that the typical black man relates to women is, you know, a chauvinistic black man is like a feminist to a woman from a patriarchal country. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Like he comes across like because if you're familiar with men raised in patriarchal cultures, it's like they don't even care what women think, what they say. I mean, look at the laws in those countries. You leave your husband, you get nothing. You know, you leave your kid, you don't get any child support. Like none of that stuff. All these social laws and programs and stuff that benefit women here, none of that stuff exists there. None of them. I mean, these women come to New York in the summertime and stuff, to Brooklyn, they go wild.
Right.
They come here and they go wild. I mean, I grew up experiencing this, man. So if someone tells you that it's not true, baloney. You don't have to go to the country when the countries are coming to you. And when you leave New York, the countries are coming to you. The countries are coming to you. I've met women from everywhere in this world just staying at home and hanging out in the summertime. I don't have to. I mean, I've traveled, but I don't have to. They come here.
Do you two prefer the black woman if her attitude was a bit different? Holistically?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I've had, you know, like I said, yeah, absolutely. It's because the thing is that you can't be, if you have the femininity and then you have the commonality that you have with your woman, you know, because like you said, we're unique people. No one else has had our experience. So if you combine, and for me, I'm just physically attracted to, I mean, I find all women attractive, don't get me wrong, but my ultimate preference is I'm attracted more to black women. So it's like, and part of that too is like for most men, it's like to get the different race woman or the exotic woman or whatever is like a fantasy. I had that first because of where I grew up. And for me, it was like black women were the puzzle. I was like, how do I get next? How do I talk to them? How do I get next to them? Like I did not really know how. And I have a bunch of friends who were always going out and stuff. And I just watched them and I learned. But, you know, for me, it was the black woman that was like the elusive initially, like the elusive, you know, gem or jewel or whatever. Like I just didn't know what, because I grew up with women approaching me. Like when you're an athlete and you're in the suburbs, the white girls, they approach you. Like you don't have to say anything. They approach you. So I didn't know.
I'm gonna tell you too a secret, and I'm sure Dr. O knows this. Men of other persuasions, they love black women. They really do. They just can't socialize it as much, especially Jewish men. So I think that
Jewish men do like black women.
Yeah, and Italian men and Asian men. And but the thing of it is that it just can't be socialized as much, or it isn't socialized as much. So that's what I also try to tell my sisters. I'm saying, you know, we've got it. We just, the only thing is that it's our attitude towards our men.
Yeah.
And we just have to look, not use our personal situations, but look at how society as a whole treats our men. I mean, all the way from the transatlantic slave trade and the bug breaking and Jim Crow, and I could go on and on and on and on.
They adopt that.
Just
they adopt
stop.
that mentality.
And then we expect our men to be the same as someone who had a 400-year start.
Right,
And it's just not logical. And it doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is what you do with what you make. Right. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff that's just this big ball of confusion. But I think if our women would just be quiet, I think everything would be okay. But that's a hard sell.
But that ain't gonna happen now with American women. And you know, and listen, you know, it's this what I call this unmerited manumission, where they feel like, I call it the Mr. trope. You know, I'm gonna do a show at some point called "Leave Mr. Alone," because because they always assume that Mr. is the modern black man, and me and Gene are not Mr. Maybe Gene is, he's a snake whisperer, but they always say leave. You know, I'm gonna do a show called "Leave Mr. Alone" because they tend to equivocate all black men as being Mr. You know, that antagonistic black man that, you know, kept the black woman barefoot and pregnant. You know, he was mean to her. He physically and verbally abused her. And, you know, as me and Gene said a minute ago, most men that I know, they're not like that. Sure, you got the Raekwons and the Man-Mans that are probably like that, but most brothers I know are very agreeable, and they try to work along with the women. But, you know, I just feel like that, you know, that like I said, women just don't know the power behind being feminine. It's intoxicating when you got a true, genuine feminine woman that's not faking it. But I'm talking about this real. And you're right, black men and black women in general are reverent, you know, in the world. Women love a lot of foreign women love the dark skin of the black man, you know, his masculinity, his kindness, his gentleness. They love that, you know. And you know, I think a lot of times some of our women take it for granted instead of embracing good black men. You know, we're living in a crisis where COVID-19 has, you know, caused a lot of people to be in a state of flux. And you know what a true and a wise woman understands is that there's a time to be silent, like Kimberly was talking about, and there's a time to be vocal. I'm not saying you got to be this docile, goofy woman that can't have a voice and you can't say anything. I don't believe in that. But there is a time to speak, and there's a time to be silent. And you know, the lack of respect that, you know, that's more or less given to American men now. Why would a man want to get married? It's not that we don't love American women, but we just don't see the value in a lot of sisters in America. You know, there are few, but they're far and few between. Because when I gave my own a diatribe about this Russell Wilson situation, I was met with a whole lot of vitriol. You know, calling me names and all that until I released the end of the line. Got dropped. But you know, it's a shame. Dono, I want to ask you a question. You know, when we think about the femininity movement, Kim, I want you to scoop in a little bit too. This femininity movement, and we talked about it in the past show. Do you think a lot of these women, Dr. O, are genuine, or do you think it's a fabrication? And then also, right. And then also, I want to talk about this 50-50 movement, because some say that, you know, a man is not a man unless he paid 100% of all the bills. And I say hogwash. I think a woman, only a certain type of woman deserves to get 100% of bills paid. If she's an honorable woman, a woman that's virginous, not virginous, but a woman that has reverenced herself, respect her body. A woman that's cooperative, I'll pay 100% for a woman like that. You know, like I said, women of the 50s, they didn't have jobs. So why would I pay 100% for a chick just because she said you got to pay 100%. You're not that important, sweetie. I don't care how you look, how nice your body is. You got to earn that 100% because I'm gonna be out here slaving. You're gonna earn that 100%. So let's talk about the 50-50 trope or the 50-50 movement, and also this what I call the Delilah complex, because Delilah had an agenda and it wasn't a genuine agenda. So let's talk about that, and also this 50-50 foolishness that you see, because once again, I don't have an issue with paying 100% of bills if she's the woman that qualifies in my own worldview. But just because you say it, you don't get to determine if I'm going to pay 100% of the bills. I'll determine that. And if we can't come to an agreement, I bid you farewell.
I agree. But first, on the femininity movement, that is training, women to be feminine and to wear certain stuff, put your pearls on, and all this. I think that's setting it up for failure, because I think that is just someone who's pretending to be that way in order to, like the black widow spider, trap you and then kill you, once they have you. So no, I don't think that's genuine. I think, as Kim said it a while ago, I think you have to be born and bred in it. Yeah, someone can fool you for anywhere from 90 to 180 days, but it'll slowly start seeping out and you'll see through those clothes. So I think that right there is just a falsehood. And I see a lot of women buying into this, going to seminars, listening to, women with information that hasn't helped them because they're not married, half of them, half the people that's giving this information. I don't think they should be giving it, to be honest with you. We don't know anything. Huh?
So more than half of them are not married.
No, yeah. And, I've gotten videos from different ones, oh, well, now these right here is different. Well, boom, they're not married. Because that's my first thing I ask people, well, are you married? Are you married? Are you married? And if they keep giving me the same, I just don't want to hear it. That's just like someone obese telling me what I need to do. I'm not going to listen to you because you're not disciplining your diet. So you can talk to me till you about to pass out. I'm going to sit here and be Googling. I'm not hearing you. So I think that is just something fake. I think it's just something to get another, what's that, snake oil salesman, relationship salesman. I would just leave it, throw it all away. And the 50-50 movement, again, most men, a lady wouldn't even have to ask a man that. It's just automatic, that's something that's automatically done. You get this from low-life women, who aren't used to anything, who has been watching too many Real Housewives of Atlanta's, and, they come to the table, well, before you be with me, you got to pay 50-50, please, these ladies haven't had a father around them to show them, what they're supposed. They shouldn't even have to say that. They should.
They're the type, though. I'm sorry. My point is that they say that if a man pays 50-50, he's not a worthy man. What I'm saying is that you must prove yourself worthy of a man paying 100% of the bills. They look down on men. Listen, I understand where they're coming from, but I'm just saying, what are you bringing the value as well? Now, if you're a valuable woman, then I think a man should pay 100%. But what I'm saying, those women are far and few in between. That's my own personal. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Right. No, they are far and few in between. Like I had, I don't know if you remember, I had put something up where gentlemen, I had gentlemen prior to me getting married, they would send me cash apps, for my lunch. I always got stuff like they send me their products free. Well, I noticed this was getting a lot of shares, a lot of momentum. So I'm like, what's going on? So I happened to go over there and look. It was low budget women, talking about, I wish somebody would just give me $20 to $40. Go $40 could probably pay these folks grocery bills for the whole week. Black women have an unrealistic, like I say, expectation, of, men. I just think the whole thing in general is just blown out of proportion. I don't believe in no 50-50 movement. I just don't believe in a lot of that stuff that's going on out there. Any kind of thing with movement attached to it, I stay far away from it, because I know it's a bunch of either, I use this a lot, low life, low leaders, in the march, people who I just stay away from it. I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's valid.
So is a man less than, Doc, though? That my question is, Kimberly, give me your input. Is a man less than if he went into a relationship, not at his best financially, but he said, well, look, baby, I can't pay everything right now, but we can go 50-50. Would you look down on a man like that?
I think you have to meet a man on the level that he's at, and where he's at the beginning, and you can't You can't bring him up to somewhere else. You meet him at the level where he is and you stay with it and you still keep him as the head. That's the way I see it.
Yes, ma'am. Right. Go ahead, Kimberly.
I think that what we've missed a lot is, again, our situation is unique in this country. So we have to look at the potential in people, and we have to bring out the best in people, and we have to encourage and uplift one another. There are so many of our young people, me, all of us, who just needed encouragement in order to push forward, because we are strong people, right? And we're stronger together. I don't think it's about we always want to monetize things. The fact that somebody actually thinks enough of you to want to spend time with you, there's an intangible value in that. Someone who actually wants to listen to you and who's interested in your dreams, right? And who knows your favorite color, knows your birthday. That's what's really valuable in my estimation. Yeah, we need money for food, and I do like Tiffany. I'm not gonna lie, but that's not the other person's responsibility. It's my responsibility.
That's
Well,
right.
you guys are in the minority, big time.
But and I know, and that's why, and I know Dr. O has come across this. I kind of understand where our men are with all of the opposition they meet when you all speak up for yourselves, because I speak up for you. I'm a very strong advocate. I don't care. And I don't, oh yeah, I've been called names and all kinds of, I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me because I'm a G. And
The Leo Swag comes out.
but I am. I just look, I look, no, whatever. Big girl from South Central. But
the Leo Swag.
but I mean,
Swagalicious.
that's the real value. If someone actually takes, do you know how many times I've sat with someone and just actually listened to their dreams and their goals and their aspirations, and then saw them go off and do things? I mean, if you know anything about my business, a shameless plug, that's what it was based upon. I started a company to help our men, to create jobs for our men,
Right.
because I love them.
Right.
Honestly, the world does need more love, and we need Dr. O's honesty. We need that peppered all over the community, because she's not offensive. She's real.
Right.
And that's what we need.
Right.
But thank you for letting me say something.
No doubt. Much love. Go ahead, G. What's your take on it, brother? Then we're gonna sign off in a few minutes. I gotta make this link green. But go ahead. Oh, he must have, the snake whisper disappeared. But I don't know what happened to him. But the thing about the current state that we live in, guys, and it's a breath of fresh air to have women like yourself, Kimberly, and also Dr. O. It's a breath of fresh air. When you ladies are met with opposition, and Kimberly, I want to bring you back again to talk about that movement that you're doing for a lot of men. Let's do a separate show that you can talk about that initiative, because that I didn't know you were part of that. But I would love to bring you back on again. But when you think about the vitriol that you ladies receive, how do you guys compartmentalize that? I mean, I know Kimberly says she a G and she don't really care, but besides being called the pick me, Dr. O, I haven't heard you talk about women disrespecting you. But what do they say to you, and how do you just brush it off?
Well, for me, I always consider the source. And, me, I was a daddy's girl. And so my daddy, I used to come home and say, Daddy, this girl said, I think I'm better than that. He said, well, what did you tell him? I said, I don't know. He said, well, you are. So when a lowlife come up to me, I'm very good with ignoring them, because I don't want to put a lowlife on the level that I have created myself to be on. So in order to put a lowlife in their place, I give them nothing. If you come with opposition with me, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get blocked. I just don't have time, because now something I'm quick to say, I only debate with my constituents, and it's not many, that I feel, on the level for me to debate with. So I will bid them a farewell. Even when they inbox me, I mean, I have nothing to say to them. I mean, Kim, look at us. I mean, am I gonna waste my time talking to you? I was always told real ugly girls fight, so I'm trying to be cute and clap. I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna ruffle my feathers up.
No,
Right.
it's honestly true. And when you know that you have a purpose and you've made a decision, the opinion of others is non-existent. It's really non-existent, because you cannot tell me that my black man is not the greatest man on earth.
Thank you.
You can't. You're constantly attacked
Right.
on all levels. So there has to be something there. That's just the logic of it all. And I'm going to socialize that. And whatever, you deal with it or you won't deal with it. But I guarantee you this, you're going to see how I'm treated and how Dr. O, how we're treated by Black men, the greatest protectors on this earth. We're going to be the safe ones. We're going to be the last ones standing. I absolutely guarantee it, because we have you in our corner, or we're in your corner, however you want to look at it, but we're together, and that's it, and that's that.
Well, once again, you guys, I don't know what the word Gene is doing. I mean, he about like a UFO. He dodging in and out. Y'all got to watch out for Gene. He's a snake whisperer. But, watch out for him, Kim. He might try to slide in your DM. But I don't know what happened.
He's the DM whisperer.
Yeah, he's the DM whisperer, right? You guys, y'all messed me up. Y'all got me putting pink on my display, and I'm trying to show y'all some love. Y'all got me revoking the man card on this show, man. Got pink plaster everywhere. Go ahead, Dr. Kimberly. Go ahead, sis.
I have a request. Are we going to do a song this time?
Oh, come on, sis. I got you. I'm about to dedicate to y'all in a minute. I'm about to go to this podcast and make this lean green. I don't know what happened to the snake whisperer, but yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Doctor. Yes, ma'am.
You know what, Kim, we really should have started out the show with I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain, since these are the type of women that, I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain. I want y'all to pick me because, I don't have nothing to offer. I'm just a big old fat black bald head woman, with no money, a low credit score, and I just want you to take care of me.
And that's
a song.
And that entitlement is so
unreal.
Like I have people or women ask me, "Oh, well, how do you stay a certain size because I'm over the hill?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, you don't eat. You only eat certain things." They say, "Well, I'm going to eat what I want." I said,
"Well."
Right. You'll be big as the pink elephant. But anyway, Dr. O, before we end the show, and I'm grateful once again for you and Kimberly. It was sort of mishmash a little bit, but I thought it was nonetheless a good show. What did you gather from this show, Kimberly, as well? And we understand that what you and Kimberly are trying to do is almost like a fish trying to swim upstream. It's hard, it's very difficult, and many don't even listen to it because they shut it out, as they've been so indoctrinated by a lot of the teachings and liberal ideology. But what have you guys gathered from this show? And what do you plan to take from this show to give to the young women that are willing to listen? Because Dr. O, I know you said that there are women that will listen. And yes. Kimberly, you said that there are women that will listen, but a lot of times they try to marginalize sisters like yourself. So what are you guys taking, and what would you guys give to the community as you guys move forward?
Well, as I move forward, like I said, I work with resident women in the prison system, inmates, and of course, social media. And what I take from it is women are listening. And I know that from different ones coming to me in my inbox, calling me. I know they're listening. Like I said, they have a lot of questions that they like to ask, but they don't want to be so much in the public doing so, because nowadays, being a lady, or what is considered a conservative lady, like I said, again, people are frowning upon it. And like I said, I think if we continue to make it look attractive, make it look like something, that they want to do, something that they need to do in order to be married and have someone as a protector since their father is no longer around, I think it would catch on. So what I take from this show is there is hope. I'm sure it's another Kimberly around. I'm sure it's another me around somewhere that's just afraid to be vocal. But I think with ladies like us, I think we're going to open the door and open the stage for them to come out and know that it's okay to be a lady. It's okay for me to talk about my husband, talk about my family, talk about the values, that I grew up on. It's okay. But in order for them to say it's okay, we must continue to be vocal. We must continue to be ladies. We may be the only ladies. I always tell when you go out in public that a little girl will see. So we must continue to behave this way, not only privately, but publicly also. So,
Kimberly, I want you to more or less give your prologue, not prologue. But anyway, give your point of view as we're about to end this show. I thought it's been an awesome show. It feels like Oz every time we have the show. When it ends, I get a little sad. I feel like where that dog at? I feel like I'm going back to Kansas when the show's about to end. I start clicking instead of clicking my heels, I start rubbing my bald head and saying there's no place like home. But Kimberly, give me your point of view, and then Gene, I want you to take it home. But Gene, before you take it home, now I told Kimberly, Dr. O, you like a UFO Negro. You keep popping in and out. You need to stay on the target. Yeah. You're like a UFO. I'm gonna call you.
The problem is I'm using my old phone for this because I don't remember my Facebook password.
Right.
So this phone is like dying. I have a new phone, but I don't have Facebook on that new phone yet.
Okay. You're right. I call you the unidentified Negro. But go ahead, Kimberly.
Thank you for asking. What I get from this show is what I've already known in my heart, how awesome our men are, and just to encourage our men to do exactly what you're doing and bringing awareness to this topic. There's this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think my strategy would be to just have people see me treat our men with the respect that they deserve, inheritantly deserve.
Right.
And maybe they'll have this fear of missing out. They'll catch on and they'll do it. But, you all are my focus. So that's all I can say.
Well, much love. I was keeping. I'll pull a bow back and hit you right on your forehead. But Gene, I want you to take it home, man. I thought this was an awesome show. I'm always honored to have your insight. God have given men the gift called provision, but also vision. So, Gene, I want you to give your point of view, and then we're going to take it home. And as I told the lovely ladies, I'm about to make this lean green. But go ahead, brother.
My point of view about what in particular?
Well, what did you gather from the show? Is there hope in this current morass called America? Do you see a revival as it relates to relationships? I personally don't see it. I think it's finished. But give me your take. Well,
okay. The thing that I get most from the show is the input of the two ladies here. Like, it's awesome to hear Black women who actually respect Black men and value Black men, and value, family, value the traditional things that really helped us to survive everything that we've gone through. Like, that's the foundation that, our survival was built on. We would not be here without those things, and that just speaks to the power, again, of submission, because Black men could not have survived all of this alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just no way. Well, what reason is there if you're just by yourself going through what our ancestors went through, with no one there to comfort you, no one there to dream with you, no one there to hope with you. Like, what do you have? I don't think we would be where we are now had it not been for the relationship between the men and the women. But is there any hope? This phone is acting up. I don't know. I mean, I'm not hopeful just because the more people address, the modern Black woman, the harder they push back. Like, they just never back down.
Right.
They just never ever back down, and they're drawn to dysfunction. Like someone was talking recently about how come LeBron James and Savannah don't get a lot of, shine in the Black community. And I said, because their relationship is not dysfunctional. If it was dysfunctional and there was a whole bunch of drama and Braun was stepping out on her left, right, and center, not only would people be drawn to them, but women would be lining up to be his side piece. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we look at what is popular in our community, housewife shows, basketball wives shows. We are just lovers we're connoisseurs of dysfunction. We like connoisseurs of dysfunction, and that is not sustainable. So it's like, I think at some point, if our survival is not like put in our faces, like, okay, you need to do this or else you're not going to survive. I think that's the only thing that's going to make people, because self-preservation is job one, and that is true of every human being. And so I think if that message could ever be conveyed, that our self-preservation, is at stake, that's the only thing I think that can turn it around, because that is so powerful. I mean, so powerful that, again, I'm a guy, I grew up in New York. I run into plenty of crazy people in the subway, and I've gone at a lot of crazy people, and people will say, well, why aren't you afraid of that person when they're crazy? And I will tell them, they're crazy, but they're still, only the craziest person, the person that's going to kill themselves, is going to put themselves in harm's way. Even crazy people, when faced with their extermination or being severely hurt, they will back down. They will. So these crazy women, I think also, once our extinction is looking us in the face, I think that's the only thing that will make them back down.
No doubt.
I don't think anything else will resonate with them other than their own, self-preservation. And that's
right.
it.
Respect. Well, listen, it's about 10 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. And shout out to Dr. Mrs. That's Diane Carroll at the top of the screen. It's so good to the bottom. And that's the snake whisperer.
She does.
Hold on. Well, this is going on.
Dr. Carroll, Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll. Well, okay. What's Kim? I thought me and Kim, we was in the same game. We got to be we the Dynasty crew.
The Dynasty crew. Well, listen, you and Kim are definitely bridging the gap. And so this song is going out. I'm by the Hayes, by the way. But this song is going out. But this song is going out to Sister Kimberly and Dr. O, and you guys are bridging the gap. So we're about to sign off. This is the 20th episode of the Manhood Chronicles.
I am very thankful for you ladies. Very thankful.
Oh, thankful for you.
I'm always excited when I see women like Kim and Dr. O. They get me excited.
They do. You guys get me excited too.
So I'm always excited. Watch out for the snake whisperer.
The snake whisperer.
The snake whisperer. Don't let him get on DMs. He might have your badges on.
Pay no attention to him. Pay no attention to him. Later.
All right, I love you guys. Kimberly, I'm going to bring you back on, sis. We're going to do it again. If they don't kill you first, y'all know.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.